Just pass through these and you can pass them around. What I've done here is I've just blown a copy of my card, which you'll see why in just a minute. Anybody know the name of that tree?
Joshua tree.
No, not the Joshua tree. It's called the bristlecone pine. This is a special tree. It fits our situation. And it's a symbol. It's a symbol of durability. It's a symbol of adaptation. It's a symbol of survival in the grandest style. This is the oldest tree on the earth. It's here in California. It's on the east side of the state. It's older than the redwood. It's older than the sequoia. About twice as old. Almost 5,000 years old. Now that goes back before the pyramids. That's the dawn of civilization. And it lives on the eastern side of California, which is miserable. The White Mountains. You know, there's two mountains. There's the Sierra. There's the White Mountains. The water, the air goes up over the mountain and it drops all the water. Goes up over the next mountain, drops all the water. Dry as a bone. Dry as a bone where this tree has to live for 5,000 years. The soil's no good. It's alkaline soil. You know, white soil? Is that where you want to grow your tomatoes? Or your corn? Or your carrots? No, it tastes bitter. You ever taste this stuff? Imagine limestone. That's what this tree has to grow in. This tree starts at 10,000 feet. Now that happens to be what they call the timberline. You know what the timberline? That's where the trees stop. And it goes to 14,000 feet. It is cold and the wind blows. And look at this tree. Look at this tree. It looks windblown. It looks beaten, doesn't it? All right, this is a survivor. It has adapted, and I'll tell you more about that tree in just a minute. But if you'll flip that card over to the other side, my wife is a Montessori teacher. And those of you that know anything about Montessori know there's this worldwide community, and they're always talking about each other. So just the other day, I heard this story. This is a Montessori school right down here in San Jose, actually Campbell. Here's what's interesting. This is an Ulster story, another Ulster. There's a janitor there. He's 85 years old. Now, doesn't that tell you something about our times? An 85-year-old man is still working as a janitor to keep life and limb together. Well, this guy has a love. He loves art. He's always loved art. He's a painter. So guess what? He goes down to Carmel, which is not very far away. You probably know. Down to Monterey. There's all kinds of galleries. He goes down to see the exhibits, and he goes into a shop one day, talks with the owner. He loves the art. He's talking with the owner about his own art. And the guy says, well, you know, do you have any art? Can I see your art? I'd like to see it. He said, well, I just happen to have some in my car. They go out to the car. You know the rest of the story. No. He wants it in the store. The owner wants it in his store. And sure enough, he does. They exhibit it in no time at all. There's a lot of wealthy people going through this town. They love his stuff. 85 years old for the first time, he's selling his art. It's going great guns. He doesn't have to work as a janitor anymore. Now, there's another story. Another Ulster. It gets better. You may know this guy. I just finished reading the second book because I just got these books just a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't put them down. I just finished this one yesterday. 96. Now it's interesting that I read this book because this is the story of the Depression. This poor guy went through World War I, World War II, and the Great Depression. Unbelievable stories about the Depression. Unbelievable stories. It's here. This guy liked to write. That was his love. He liked to write. He finally got a book published. This was the Depression. It's very hard. He couldn't find a publisher anywhere in America to publish his story. But someone hooked him up with somebody in England. And he published not this book, but the other book in 2007. 96 years old, his book is first published. The world loves this stuff. This is now the second book. I just finished reading that. There's a third book. This guy is still working. He's 98 years old now. He's still working.
Right.
And he started it in age 96. Kind of like that tree, isn't it? Survival, right? Adaptation. The Depression, right? he got through it all, right? And the world's at his doorstep. They're coming after him, right? Whatever the wind blows, it blew his way. Okay, now what do these two stories have in common? And I'll tell you how that's related to the tree. Love, they both, for their entire lives, did what they loved, right? They did what they loved. And the second part, the biggest part of all, and that's where I'm coming in terms of our business, right, is someone gave him a break. Someone loved him in turn. And they're making it. Now, we're talking about some bad times here. This just came to me today. And here we are again, ready for anything. Sounds like the tree. I didn't tell you the rest of the story about the tree in terms of the other trees. You know, these trees do live in a forest. Although it's so miserable up there, they have to be far apart because they can't compete. But naturally, if you're a tree, you want to propagate, right? And in fact, the oldest tree, called Methuselah, after the Bible, right? The oldest man in the Bible, Methuselah, now has a grandson, a grand, whatever. Because these trees have both male and female parts. Did you know that? They can actually propagate themselves, but it never worked. There's no record of the Methuselah lineage anywhere in the area from just the Methuselah tree. Guess what? Other trees fertilize those seeds. People, right? Together, right? Now here is something interesting in this magazine, which I just looked at today. It's happening right here, folks. Right here in our community. The same thing's going on right here, right now. And this book, this magazine, has also told stories about Albany. Right here, next door. This is where I worked. You know, I was a probation officer before, right? I was also a stockbroker and a teacher, but right here. Why do I tell you this? Because I want to tell your story. We're going to be telling a story in February. This is one man, his story. It's his special approach to the market. I've been involved in the market, as I mentioned this to you, for over 30 years. I have never seen anybody do this before. I think you'll like this. We're going to be telling his story to the largest, incidentally, homeowners association in Santa Fe, which is where I live. And he lives in San Francisco. What are we going to be talking about? How he made money in the market, this miserable, awful market that we had. Didn't lose money, he made money. And here's the catch, using utility stocks. Now ask yourself this. If PG&E paid you enough to pay your PG&E bill and maybe some other bills, would that be a good thing? Would you not like PG&E to pay your bills for you? That's what he does! You see, this is a good story to know about, is it not? I want to tell your story because I believe it's a good story too. I want the other people out there to know what your story is. I love your story. So, that's what we do. It's a living in hard times. 101, the basics, right? Your story, how you can help others, and how they can help you. Thank you very much.